In the run-up to the playoffs, a campaign studded by different winners makes its trip to the third different mile-and-a-half of the season with a chance at a stunning 7th. Live from America's heartland, FTN welcomes you to coverage of race number 7 in Season 7 of the IORA Cup Series, live from the virtual Kansas Speedway with the Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum 180. So glad that you're with us on FTN as we bring in the rest of this IORA Cup Series season. We're up in the broadcast booth here from Kansas and Kansas City. As a matter of fact, I'm Kenneth Bueno. We have a lot to cover over the course of tonight's race. As we dive further into this regular season, things are going to get a little chippy as to who will make it in and who will be the first ones looking out. As we enter this third mile-and-a-half race of the season, we just came off of a previous intermediate race at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. That one won by James Thurston, and we haven't had a repeat winner yet. Every single race is found with a different winner each and every single time. So at this moment, everyone basically fighting for as much as they can when it comes down to the point standings. And speaking of the point standings, before we get into that, we'll get into the schedule for Season 7. Not too long of a schedule, only 15 races. And as we step into race number 7, I think it's going to become clear that for the drivers, this is really the marker to turn your season around or to keep up the high momentum as you move in to the playoffs that begin at Darlington in several months' time, because you've got Talladega, Michigan, and Homestead right after this to close out the regular season. So a lot of drivers usually think at this point of the campaign where they sit, how comfortable they are, and most importantly, what they're going to do moving forward, because this is probably the most crazy stretch of a regular season in the back half of it when you're just trying to make the coveted 12 spots. And for the postseason, it will matter a lot. Tons of different tracks in there, and only 2 mile-and-a-halfs in that schedule. Race 13 will be one of the next mile-and-a-halfs we have after Homestead at Chicagoland, and then of course our season finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to decide the champion for season number 7. And with that, we've had several different winners over the course of this season. That means things aren't getting any easier when you look at the point standings, although for right now, Aiden Walker We look at the point standings here from the top 12. Aiden Walker currently walking away with the championship lead right now. He's a one-time winner this season from Atlanta earlier on in the campaign from winning an OT. But look at everyone second through fourth. Obviously, a ton of these guys are race winners this season. James Thurston made a pretty big jump after winning at Charlotte last week, so he's able to slide up into second, only 37 points out of Walker's advantage at the moment. So for right now, it isn't necessarily a game of close margins, as a matter of fact, but when you look further down through this rest of this top 10, that's where things start to get razor thin. 1 point between Lars Kennewith, Andres Vadas, and Michael Mitchum for that 8th spot in the standings, and Chase Schaefer, Carlos Truther, those 2 wins get them just barely in the top 12. The points rules that you have here in the Iowa Cup Series, a lot of it comes down to if you have a win and you're outside of the top 12, you will have a guaranteed spot. Those are technically the wild card spots at the end of it. Now, for everyone at the top, most of them race winners, still some looking for a coveted checkered flag. So that'll be fun to watch over the course of tonight's race from a track that really tests many. And as we get a look at our track map with images provided to us by Google Earth, this is a place that really does not lend itself to the faintest of heart. It is a mile-and-a-half track opened back in 2001 with 17 cookie cutter tracks in the mile-and-a-half segment of this season, but as we get into Kansas, lots of grip and lots of fun. to things at Kansas, probably one of the most fun tracks on the schedule. You look at Homestead and Miami Speedway down the line. Las Vegas and Chicagoland sure to bring us some classics down at the schedule when we get further on in the year. So we'll just see what happens, but it is going to be a ton of fun. Well, drivers have just hit the starting grid on the racetrack right behind the iRacing official pace car, so that means it is our time to get you a look at the drivers that will start at the front and where everyone will line up for tonight's race in the 7th one of Season 7 in this 2025 IORA Cup Series campaign. On the front row, River Page grabs the pole in the 24 car with a 30.8-second lap. He's got Aiden Walker, the winner from Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier this season. On the outside, those two will be the first to see tonight's green flag. Henry Koloff brings his number 63 from the inside of row number 2. Daniel Mosteller, winner from Bristol Motor Speedway earlier this year, sets his number 87 on the outside of row number 2. Sean Rowe brings his number 29 Ford Mustang from the inside of row 3. Lars Kennewitt, who took the pole last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a little bit short tonight, but he's outside row 3, back in position number 6. Behind them, in row number 4, you'll find Tyrell Baker in the number 25 machine. James Thurston will flank him on the outside in the number 96. Thurston, the winner from Charlotte, trying to become the first driver to win more than one and to go 2 in a row here in 2025. Chase Schaefer will line up his number 99 machine. Pocono winner from the inside of the next row. Corbin Collins will bring his 71 car from the just edge of the top 10. Jason Semedo in the number 94 will bring it from 11. Xander McKinney will drive his number 40 car from the outside in row number 6. That's back in position number 12. Before you find Matthew Rivera, car number 46, inside row 4. And Alexander Balduris, FTN zone in the 95. He'll be on the outside in row number 7. That's for 14th. Aladam Contreras in the 92 car inside of row number 5. Braxton Whitaker brings his number 51 from the outside in position number 16. Andres Varas in the 84 inside of row number 9 in 17th. 18th goes to the Michigan native of Alexander Schumacher, and his Chevrolet will be on the outside of the row. Back in row number 10, Will Shack in the number 31 is 19th. Hudson Sangster in the number 42 going to be outside in P20, that's row 10. Row number 11 features Devin Baker in the 14, Jacob Wilkerson on the outside in P22 in the 43 car. Gino Mera will line up from the inside of row number 12, or the outside of row number 12 and 24th. And then Carlos Truther, Elijah Innes, Wayne Kennedy, and Michael Deitch bringing us the end of our 28 car field tonight from Kansas. Well, in this race tonight, we have 120 laps, about 180 miles here from America's Heartland. We go just a little over 288 kilometers in the sim. It is a gorgeous day to go racing, and after a season filled with many different winners, a chance for a 7th to emerge tonight. River Page and Aiden Walker will bring the field out of turn 4, and for the first time this season, we are racing in the IORA Cup Series from Kansas. And for Page, a solid lap 1 leads the opening lap. Mosteller and Kahoff in the battle for second, driving to turn 1. And you saw already Page using the outside lane just to get that momentum off of the corners. That's something that we will see over the course of the night here at Kansas. This is one of those mile-and-a-halfs that treats you to high-side racing and right up against that outside wall. So Page already using it to his advantage early. Mosteller hanging to the inside. And he'll beat Kalhoff on the exit of turn number 2 to turn 3 for second place as the entire field goes by to complete lap number 2. And Mosteller trying to hold off of Kalhoff. How about the battle for P4 going on the racetrack right behind them? Tyrell Baker has already made some moves. Him and Chase Schaefer, Lars Kennewitt, 3 wide. How about it in turns 3 and 4? And car number 11 in a very distinct 7-11 throwback on the inside of the racetrack. We'll toss into that in just a couple of moments, but for right now, the 3-way fight for 4th continues, and they have let the top 3 walk away quite a bit. Kyle has already made the move. He stepped into 3rd. Meanwhile, Mosteller once more. He goes to the inside looking for the lead, and the first proper lead change of the night. Daniel Mosteller wastes no time to get to the front through lap 4. And what a move by Mosteller using the inside line. Page will have to be in dirty air for the first time over these first few, and Kauhoff will be right behind him as well. Top 3 away by at least a couple tenths of a second, and probably not surprising to see these 3 move their way up front, and specifically here in these mile-and-a-half races where if you do use up a bit more of your Goodyear Eagles, you can gain that track position. And because we've seen that outside here at Kansas be so prominent for a lot of drivers through the short, middle, and even a bit of the longer runs, can get a little tougher to pass on the inside when these tires are as worn down as they are. We've got 80% fuel in these IORA Cup Series races with these Xfinity Series cars, so we should expect a little over 45 to 50 laps on a tank of fuel. Should get you at least to nearly halfway in this race, but still early on. Everyone not really thinking about strategy right now, more so thinking about what they can gain on the track position side of things. And Mosteller did well at Bristol Motor Speedway. That's where he got his first win of this Season 7 campaign. But again, lots of drivers in this field have either found short-term success or have won races on the other end of things throughout the campaign. Mosteller is one of those standout names. Usually you see him on the IDK player streams whenever he's racing NR Night in America, but one of the top-tier names here in this IORA Cup Series, taking the lead early by 0.3 of a second. River Page trying to hold on to whatever's left of second. Kauhoff, now Schaefer sliding up through the top 5 with Kennewitt right behind. Great move with Schaefer. Inside look. Auction up for 3rd out of turn 4. And despite Schaefer's best attempts, still holding down there to the inside of the racetrack. On board look with the number 99. Schaefer already a winner this season, as we mentioned from the virtual Pocono Raceway, and there's contact. To the outside wall goes Kauhoff, and he's able to save it. But already some early race drama. Schaefer looking to the bottom, caught the quarter panel of Kauhoff's Chevrolet, and it got him all out of whack. Thankfully, does not get into the wall enough to keep up any high-intensity damage, but Aiden Walker will look to the inside, and already some of that drama sends the number 99 of Schaefer up to 3rd place. So we can try to figure out exactly what happened there on the replay with Schaefer going to the inside, and it was minimal contact between those as they were going up into it, but it was just interesting to see what happened there off of turn 2. Schaefer thought he had the inside, and he had just washed up a little too much on the racetrack. Not enough to warrant any race-ending damage on the likes of Kauhoff's number 63 machine, rather, but for the moment, I'm sure he maybe won't like the sound of that, as he's already dropped back a couple of positions here. Schaefer through the middle, trying to make it work on River Page. The fight for second may ignite here off of turn number 2, and he may have the crossover attempt going into the corner. Answer will be no. We're going back to the inside, and so Schaefer will move up high. Probably a little surprising that we've seen less drivers on the very outside of this racetrack, but given the most recent updates to the Kansas Speedway, means probably a different way of driving it, especially with the styles of the drivers we have tonight. Here comes Schaefer to the inside, and the look for second on River Page as they have caught up to Mosteller. It is still within 2 to 3/10 of a second, so it's not exactly game over, and the battle for the lead could very well come back to life with Mosteller in control through lap number 11. And Kansas was one of those tracks across the iRacing service to get a renovation graphically, but with those graphics changes did also come some changes on the asphalt grip side of things. Kansas was one of many NASCAR ovals to be renovated before NASCAR 25 comes out later this year. That list also includes Homestead Miami, it includes Kansas Speedway, it includes Dover and Bristol, and I believe the list continues on, and some tracks that I'm missing for now, but Kansas was one of those that did get remodeled, and a beautiful racetrack now as the 3-way fight for the lead ignites. Here comes River Page. He got the lead, and now Schaefer wants it to the inside. Can Chase Schaefer make the bottom work? It has been his Achilles heel through the first 12 laps, and it doesn't work on the outside of turn 4. He'll block Mosteller out of the way. Kennewood takes advantage. He was the sitting duck on the front row, looking for an opportunity to the inside, and he gets it through to Mosteller, finds his way to third, and what a denial there by River Page. Sent it through the middle, and now Schaefer having to do a bit of the catch-up work back in second. The onboard look from Page as he watches Kennewood get to the inside of Schaefer's number 99 Ford Mustang, and a solid move to the inside. Kennewood had been faithful there for the first 15 or so laps in this run, and with everything going down, it is wild. Yellow flag out for the first time tonight. Braxton Whitaker, I believe, is in trouble, and a huge bit of damage to the front end of his Chevrolet. Parks it to the infield grass that's on the tri-oval. And our first yellow flies, only 14 laps in the books. We'll see what exactly happened as he was nearly 3 wide. This was at the battle at the back of the field. Elijah Innes was in this fight. Same deal with the number 84 car. That's Andres Varas. So they go toe-to-toe in that battle for positions outside and inside of the top 20. And not sure whether he had some help or whether he lost it. There was Innes in the outside wall. Backed up Varas, and it was nowhere near the 51's incident there, independent of what happened with Innes and Varas, as Whitaker went hard into the outside wall. Car got loose, and he just overstepped it. Not much that Whitaker could do by the time it was over. He's on pit road, and the car is severely ailed. So for Braxton Whitaker, going to be a tough opening run to this race. And with all that damage, potentially engine killed for car number 51, he will spend a lot of time on pit road for right now. And here comes the field. Feeding Zoo, 15 laps in the books. Drivers do have 5 sets of tires available for them on pit road tonight. And so River Page will take everyone and the back of the field in. It appears no one really is going to stay out this time by. And after a solid start for River Page, taking away the race lead, very quick number 24 car. He's going to bring the field on pit road this time for most likely 4 fresh tires and some fuel. Jacks are up on both sides of the race car. How about Alexander Balderas? What a call. 2 tires, 7 seconds on his pit stop. River Page taking a little longer to get out, and Devins Baker will be the leader as he stays out. Balderas will take command off of pit road in a wonderful sequence of events. The only driver to have a pit stop underneath 14 seconds. So a 2-tire presumed call for Alexander Balderas gets the 95 car to the front of the field. Him and Baker will elect to run this one to the end of this green flag stretch, potentially when we get our next restart. And Balderas, one of the drivers in this IORA Cup Series, of course, long tenured, one of the members of the broadcast booth here and now from the FTN Broadcasting channel. And I think Balderas may have just second-guessed this call coming down pit road, so he will indeed come for another set of Goodyear Eagles. This time going to slap it on most likely the left or right side of the race car. Meanwhile, Kennewood will take control from this group, but they will be at the mercy of Devins Baker, who will lead us back to the restart, presumably lap number 18, after our first yellow flag involving Braxton Whitaker put that hit to the outside wall. Henry Kaloff, we mentioned that bit of damage that he had from the small contact with Chase Schaefer coming out of turn 2. It appears he has extended his stay on pit road, 49.2 seconds for car number 63. So his Chevrolet back out on the racetrack now, electing the outside for the choose cone, but he will be on the same banner as everyone else. Tire-wise, damage-wise, I believe the car is completely fixed for now. And Kalhoff eliminates any concerns, although track position desperately lost. He's going to be back to 26th place when we get our next restart. So a solid green flag run saw several different race leaders. Devins Baker, the newest, in his TikTok Toyota Camry. He will lead Kennewood and the rest of this field back to the green flag. The question is, how long will Baker last on this set of old Goodyear Eagles? This is one of those Kansas tracks that, one of those intermediate tracks that does wear down the tires a ton. So you can be shot standing still If you are on a call like Baker to stay out, wants the track position, and he hopes it will stick. Green flag waves for the first time on a restart, and there goes Baker. Schaefer looking to the outside of Kennewick before turn 1. And now Schaefer pokes through the middle. Baker looks up high, nearly 3 wide for spots inside the top 5, and Schaefer wants the lead. Coming to the back straightaway, he'll have help from River Page right behind. Kennewick, who had a shot at the lead earlier in this race, will try and stay up front. And how about River Page? 3 wide for the race lead off turn 4. And after it took a while for Schaefer to move up through the field, tried to slice through the top 5 over the first 15 laps. And many a time it did not work. Schaefer way up high near the boards. River Page will take over second. He stays in control for the lead, but Schaefer may have the better run out of turn 2. New race leader Chase Schaefer, a commanding charge to the front on the fresh tires. And so it leaves River Page with a decision to make. What does he do in the chase to Schaefer? Caution flag out for the second time tonight. And I think it may have involved Daniel Mosteller, who was at one point in the race lead. No damage for the 87 car, but it appears his car slowed down. And we will bring the field behind the iRacing official pace car for just the second time tonight. So we'll get a secondary look at how this all began, and I believe it did start around where Schaefer was. So here's Mosteller cutting through the field. We noted it, a pretty slow pit stop for Mosteller in comparison to the rest of the field. Same goes for Aiden Walker, who was at the front of the field as well. Tyrell Baker, and yeah, just made the move on Mosteller. Tried to give him a solid bump down the back straightaway. It gets Mosteller sideways, and he saves it. I'm not entirely sure whether that was the official cause of concern. It wasn't exactly a full spin to the inside of the racetrack, but yellow flag did come out anyway. And it appears no one else found themselves in trouble. So for Mosteller, a quick save. For Baker, probably a quick apology to car number 87. Not entirely intentional, of course, for Baker to make that move and to give him the shot on the rear bumper. Mosteller will drop back to 27th, and he'll join a couple of others down pit road. That is Xander McKinney, Wayne Kennedy that find themselves in this time by. So lap 21, quick and easy. Yellow flags here from Kansas Speedway, and Chase Schaefer becomes our newest race leader in a whale of a move down the outside. And it was River Page trying to cut through the middle, made it 3 wide for the lead momentarily. Kennewick let them through, and for the first time, Schaefer will put himself in clean air when we set up for the next restart here from Kansas. And I just got word from Braxton Whitaker, car number 51. We saw him overcorrect hard into the outside wall. He says car has too much damage, and he is out of this race, so a tough break for Whitaker, who will see this one fly by, and he'll have to work forward to the next race from the virtual Talladega SuperSpeedway, our second SuperSpeedway race of the season. So with that yellow flag out again, and we try to hope exactly what happens here between these drivers, whether they end up getting back together. Our biggest eye is going to be on Daniel Mosteller, how he's going to be able to recover here, and he is on pit road extensively. Not sure if there is a lot of damage to the car, but he's able to get right back going. So a rather clean-looking Toyota Camry, and I'm not even sure whether there was any doubt damage from the rear end, given the shot from Baker down the back straightaway. It didn't seem like that big of a hit to establish any sort of damage on Mosteller's rear end, but for the most part, he will, or for what it's worth, he will stay on pit road, and he will take the time necessary, maybe a splash of fuel to try and get later in this run if we extend this past a couple of laps' time. So we'll try it again. Chase Schaefer at the head of the field, River Page on the outside. From the pole tonight, Tyrell Baker moves up to a race-high third. Lars Chenoweth, we saw him at the front of this field, nearly looking for the lead there into 1 and 2 with the Devins Baker decision to stay out on the older set of Goodyear Eagles. And as they were nearly 3 wide, Kenneth lost it all. There's Aiden Walker there, and James Thurston sliding into the top 6. And for all intents and purposes, shakeups of the field. We haven't seen exactly a pure long green flag run yet. Could this one be the chance? With Schaefer up front, he will have control going to the Geico restart zone. River Page on the outside of row number 1. Lars Kenneth, Tyrell Baker will support them in row number 2. We saw Baker get a decent run, but the tires definitely fell off by the time he was through the first 2 corners. And for Chase Schaefer, he'll be up and away early. Solid restart by the Monster Designs Ford Mustang, and we are back underway from Kansas. Here comes Baker, the inside. Help from Walker entering turn 1. And a solid move by Baker, the inside of road 2. Very powerful spot, nearly 3 wide back there through the mid-pack. And here comes Baker. Look to the inside. He wants the lead through 3 and 4, and he may just have it off the final corner. He'll play it to the inside. Baker still there. Schaefer playing a bit of the defense, and River Page watching on from 3rd. There's the battle for 4th behind him of Aiden Walker looking on James Thurston. And Baker planting down low, still does not have the advantage off turn 2. He'll try once more to the inside, but just like we saw, the denial from River Page to Schaefer earlier in this run, it's that middle line that gets you hesitating if you're on the inside lane. It takes you a little longer to step into the gas pedal, and the last thing you want to do is wear down the right front tire. So Baker falls out of the battle for the lead. Here comes Page to the inside, and Baker trying to pick up what he lost there down the turn 2 area of the racetrack. He'll look to the high side, try and clear River Page, and he will. There's Walker and Kennewick in the battle for 4th place. And how about the stellarness that we saw from Tyrell Baker early, moving through the top 10, and all of a sudden he's been able to shoot out of a cannon. Looks for the race lead, but he's still got a bit of work to do if he wants to catch up to Schaefer. Page has not gotten away from Kennewick quite yet, and look at all the different lines. We didn't really see that through the first stretch of this race under green. As here's Baker with a huge run off of turn 2. This may be the best shot he has at the lead yet. Kennewick looks to the inside, and Tyrell Baker makes it another lead change to the first 26. Oh, but he is all over the place. Here comes Schaefer. Outside look for the lead. And what a battle this is shaping up to be. Nearly 3 wide. James Thurston in the back end of this group. That pink Ford Mustang looking to the inside. And River Page will have a decision to make on whether he wants to help Baker or whether he will stay in line. Onboard look with driver number 25. You'll see the 11 go by. The 99 stay up front. Now Kennewick takes 2nd. And that's an Ui count, I think, on the rear bumper of the Toyota Camry of Lars Kennewick. Beautiful throwback for him. He steps into 2nd place, and finally things single file through the early portion of this field. And a wonderful shot at the lead for Baker, denied at the door twice. And now River Page looks to the inside. He'll take over for 3rd place. Now Kennewick wants an inside look. He'll try to the bottom of turn 2. And while Schaefer has been dealing with offense through the first stretch of this race, now it's more so about the defense. But he'll block off the inside. Kennewick will stay with him, and everyone's separated by at least half a second rather, inside this top 5. Aiden Walker only back 0.5 of a second, and everyone in line nose to tail. You cannot falter here at Kansas. Onboard look with Kennewick coming out of turn 2. And he'll get a look to the outside, nearly stuffed into the wall. Schaefer trying to play a bit of defense, and it does not pan out. Kennewick becomes the newest leader. Now Baker wants to look to the inside through 3 and 4, and this battle not quite done yet to lap 30. What a fantastic fight we're watching here from Kansas. And early on, Kennewick is stepping up and making his name known. We haven't seen the top 5 change all that much. The furthest drivers back, Aiden Walker back in 6th, Jacob Wilkerson who's taken over 7th. And even then, look down the top 10 list, and everyone is still in each other's range, at least a second and a half between most of the guys inside the top 12. And so nobody has been able to run away from each other quite yet, even though we've stepped into one of our longest runs of the race. And now Baker wants a shot at the lead again. He'll go up high, trying to follow in the tracks of Kennewick. Chase Schaefer looking to recover down the inside for 3rd. And maybe for 2nd now, nearly contact between the two out of the 2nd corner. So Kennewick will lead them through. And he'll take his first couple laps led past the moment that he was originally in the race lead through that opening run. Schaefer back to the inside of Baker. They'll make it another tussle here for second. And keep in mind, River Page still in this battle quite as they look on Jacob Wilkerson, who has stolen fifth. He took 2 spots back there with James Thurston and then, of course, Aiden Walker, who we saw him fall back quite a bit. So as we see these leaders continue to tussle, more opportunities for these guys in the back to start making their moves, because we noted just how quick Schaefer was off of the get-go. We saw how quick Tyrell Baker was as soon as we got that green flag restart. Gotta wonder if there is too much usage on the Goodyear Eagles for those guys who just made that first pit stop over the first yellow of this race. And if you are a guy like Jacob Wilkerson, you're kind of licking your chops and saying, hey, if you guys are going to start wearing down your tires, I'm going to start taking advantage. And you can tell just how aggressive they're running. Baker too hot coming into turn 3. He'll tap the outside wall, and now Schaefer gets a bit of the inside on Kennewick. Will bring in his quarter panel. Wilkerson tries to dive underneath River Page for third, and now Schaefer gets the battle for the lead underway. Back to turn 1. And he'll be denied again. How about Lars Kennewick with the defense paying off? And Jacob Wilkerson, who started this race a little further back in this field, will step up into the podium for the first time tonight. That Race CPI Toyota Supra has a good look at those up front. And again, simple fact, if you waste less tires over the course of a run, you probably will be the fastest. And for Wilkerson, it has paid off tenfold. The speed picking up nearly a tenth faster than some drivers over the course of the run. And when you look at the last laps from Page and Walker, 32.5s, 32.3 on behalf of Wilkerson's number 43. And already he's been matching those at the top level of this field from first and second. So a really good start for Jacob Wilkerson in his attempt to get his first win of the season and become race winner number 7 in this Season 7 campaign. How about nearly 4 wide back there? James Thurston at the bottom of things. Corbin Collins, Tyrell Baker, and even then, that was a bit of the 39 car. Carlos Truther, what a move to the middle on the outside of turn 4. And it continues. Look at the sling to the inside. Contreras wants it 3. And it's getting sketchy as these tires wear down. A pretty hot track temperature here from Kansas. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead stays contentious. Schaefer back to the outside this time on Kennewick's number 11 car. He'll try the slide job through 1 and 2. Schaefer nabs the outside barrier, and you can question just how much they're using that could help Wilkerson. How about contact? Truther getting into Thurston, and they save it. Unbelievable save by Truther. Made the door check contact there with Thurston out of turn 2. And thankfully, they keep things all settled while Schaefer takes control. Kennewick looks to the outside, so this battle far from over. And they can only watch as the black and neon yellow number 43 tries to take center stage from just outside of the podium. And the onboard look from the race leader. You can sense just how much throttle they're using center of the corner. That's how much grip you can have up there here at Kansas. This is one of those ovals that has notoriously been known for the high side dominance. Not often do you see that inside lane be as prominent over the course of a run. Usually everyone stays up near that outside barrier, but since the updates given to this track, there is a bit more prowess down the inside lane. And we've seen that from the likes of Schaefer, even a bit of River Page, and now the long longevity for Jacob Wilkerson, car number 43. He'll look to the inside for second on Schaefer this time. And you can almost tell Schaefer is fighting more and more that Ford Mustang over the course of this run. We've seen him run the inside, the middle, the very outside, and every single time he gets down on the brakes mid-corner, that car is nearly sideways or it's being tussled around at a huge, huge disadvantage to Wilkerson, who's being on the inside stable. Kennewick loses second. Schaefer the slide job for the lead, and Wilkerson again makes the inside look for the runner-up spot. And what a drive from Wilkerson, nearly 3 wide. How about the denial there for Schaefer? And contact! Wilkerson to the inside. That was a touch from Schaefer, who sent the block down the bottom of the tri-oval. And Wilkerson wants more. He'll look to the inside again. And the battle for the lead that has not let up Kennewick takes advantage on the high side, but it's nearly about whether this race steps further into the run and where the threshold will be beat. Now Kennewick looks down low. He'll take a shot at the inside on Schaefer's 99 car, and for now it won't work. Schaefer still in the race lead for lap 41. Oh, and we've seen wonderful fights for the race lead. These things have not given up yet, and we haven't seen a driver quite pull away. We've seen many different drivers in contention. How about, River Page? We mentioned his strength early on in this race, starting from the pole. He's dropped back to 5th. We noted Tyrell Baker, his fall off to P6. James Thurston is dropped off to 8th. And then we talked about Daniel Mosteller, who picked up that damage earlier on in this race. The shot from Tyrell Baker that sent him sliding down the back straightaway. And Mosteller has only been able to pick up to 15th place with 14th Henry Kahoff. We saw him tap the outside wall from the early contact with Schaefer's 99, and all of a sudden it got them all out of whack. But for right now, everything considerably the same at the front end of this field. Kennewick has yet to give another shot at Schaefer. He'll look at it here entering turn 3 with Wilkerson just the sitting duck waiting for the chance to emerge for him on the fresh tires. He'll search for the high run out of turn number 4, and he'll get it. Peek to the outside of Kennewick, and the battle for second decided quickly. Wilkerson gets it done in a hurry, and how about Aiden Walker? He's got a shot inside P4. And so easily can you wear down these Goodyear Eagles at a track like Kansas. You use the outside a little too much, and either you wear down the right rear tire from using so much throttle, or you end up wearing the right front tire because you send it so hard into the corner. You try to rotate through the apex, and the car is getting a considerable load on that right front, so then the tire starts screaming for grip. You have a bit of a harder time making it through the corner. You got to slow down a little more. So a lot of question marks for the usage of tires on Schaefer and Kennewick's end with how hard they've been racing over this run. We haven't seen the lake effect for them quite yet. We've seen how James Thurston fell back, how Tyrell Baker fell back, and some of the others that used their tires early slowly start falling through the field, but it hasn't been a pitfall yet for Schaefer and Kennewick, despite the lines that they run and despite how aggressive they've been at the front of this field. They'll enable the battle with Wilkerson on the inside, and again, this fight for the lead continues to lap 46 as we are just about 14 laps away from the halfway mark here from Kansas Speedway. It has been absolutely phenomenal racing at the front, and it has been insane through the battles for the top spot. Nobody giving an inch yet. And Wilkerson continues this fight, adamant and taking the spot away. But like we said earlier in the show, very hard to pass here at Kansas on the inside. So it's Schaefer, Wilkerson, Kennewick, top 3. Walker and Page, your current top 5. And everyone beyond the top 10 just starting to find themselves a rhythm. There is Carlos Truther. We saw him sideways, hip-checking Thurston out of turn 2 a couple laps ago. Tyrell Baker on the outside in this battle for 11th place with Gino Mero or Corbin Collins right behind them. As a matter of fact, Gino Mero, I believe, was one of those registered in this session, and we did not see him take the grid from the front. He was at the back, and he's already moved his way up to position number 9, so a great move up from Gino Mero in that 71 Ford Mustang as he tries to work up on Alaram Contreras, that M&M's Toyota Supra, further up the road inside the top 8. So battle for the lead again. Kennewick and Schaefer, they have been on each other the entire race, it feels like. And despite Wilkerson's attempts at getting to the inside or outside of either of them, neither of it has panned out, and that has reeled in the pole sitter. How about the contact out of turn 4? Kennewick gets loose, and you'll save it. River Page looking to the inside, and we're just about 3 abreast for second place entering turn 1. I want a car sideways. That's further back. Douglas Newbigging saves it. And he'll keep his Chevrolet collected nearly the yellow flue. But Bigging got sideways out of turn 2. He keeps it together, and here comes Wilkerson again, trying not to be denied. Schaefer will get him a look to the block. River Page, the pole sitter, from the outside, and while Kennewick fell down to 4th, everyone is back in it through the top 3. You just got to think, if you're Wilkerson, when will Schaefer make a deer mistake? We've seen a couple times him hitting the outside wall, and neither time has it cost him the top spot. Look at River Page, the slide job in 3 and 4, and it may just work out. River Page takes back the race lead. Schaefer wants to the inside. He'll take a look at it, and they'll switch paths again. Here comes Schaefer. Back indoor look. He'll crossover attempt to the race lead. And now it's all on Wilkerson running the middle to figure out what he's going to do next. Onboard look with Page as he gets another shot at Schaefer out of turn 2. You can feel just how differently Page is running this car, just trying to catch up to Schaefer and get a specific edge. And we understand just how close Schaefer and Kennewick were over this initial green flag run, and Page will have to set a denial here on Wilkerson's Toyota Supra. It doesn't make a move, and the battle persists through the top 3. They have yet to really give each other a break. And River Page, a very good run last week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. In the other intermediate race of this Season 7 calendar, came home in 3rd with a very good running, even though he started in 9th in that race. And Chase Schaefer, who had put himself in a good spot early, had fallen all the way back to 19th despite starting just on the outside of the front row. So if there's anyone that really wants some sort of redemption, it is going to be Chase Schaefer. And for River Page, just wants to continue the consistency. Spinner behind. Gino Merrill goes hard into the inside wall with Daniel Mosteller. And we are back at the yellow flag again. 2 strong drivers in the top 10 caught each other out of turn 2. And Gino Merrill in peril. Oh my. Yellow flag flies again, and we'll get another look at how this all transpired. This was out of turn 2, and this is a 4-car battle. That was the 29 machine of Sean Rowe, Aladam Contreras on the outside, and I don't know if Merrill may have had some contact from Contreras initially. Yeah, there it was. Hooked him right into the wall, then back down the track, and as Mosteller tried to get away, there was nowhere for him to go, and instead makes that contact right on Merrill's side, and it gets them sliding to the inside wall. Mosteller had the worst of it. Here's the onboard look from the 87 car as he watches Merrill come up the track, and there is nowhere for Mosteller to be. And by that time, hard on the brakes. And that is a hellacious hit to the inside wall. And a tough break for the 87, who we saw him fall back based on the strategy call earlier on in this race with the slight slide from the contact with Tyrell Baker. And Mosteller's race may just be over tonight from the virtual Kansas Speedway. It will kill the top 5 streak that he was at least trying to build up. 5th place last week at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. So another time, everyone reaches pit road. And basically the entire field comes on in. Not sure if there will be anyone that elects to stay out, but the biggest eyes on Chase Schaefer, who comes in from 8th as he's coming out of his pit stall. Quick look, and here comes Wilkerson, beats him off the line. Does he beat Page there to the exit of pit road? And that one's going to be really close. And I think River Page may have just got him by a nose. What a drive from Page. And he will get the run out of pit road, and he will have the lead. So no one stays out past lap 55, and we will get a restart just shy of halfway here from Kansas City. So Page, Wilkerson, Thurston, Schaefer, and Kennewick through the top 5. Walker, Douglas Newbigging, Sean Rowe, Corbin Collins, and Henry Kauhoff make the rest of the top 10. We saw Corbin Collins run a top 10 run at Charlotte Motor Speedway, ended up in 7th place. Sean Rowe lined it up exactly where he is right now at Charlotte in P8. And then you look at the guys like Walker, like Page, like Thurston, those super strong cars in that overtime restart at Charlotte, one of the several overtime attempts that we've had throughout this Season 7 campaign, and that's exactly how one of the race winners was decided in Aiden Walker. Got the dub at the Old Atlanta Motor Speedway via a 2-lap-to-go restart in overtime. And so we've seen plenty of these mile-and-a-half races come down to the very wire. For right now, things seem to be okay, and after our longest green flag run of the night, with many a lap, Schaefer in control. This time, he will have to watch on from the outside of row number 2. Jacob Wilkerson, who put himself in the dogfight by the end of that green flag run, couldn't find headway on Page or Kennewick or Chase Schaefer. So it's a possible opportunity for Wilkerson to match even with Page entering turn 1 and get himself a run at the lead for the first time tonight. So Page, the pole sitter, will lead them back to the front here in our next restart, lap number 57 of 120. And again, just shy of halfway tonight of this 180-miler from Kansas. And Page will bring this field through control, through the Geico restart zone. His Toyota Supra hops on the gas pedal first, and Wilkerson tries to match his speed, but it's not enough to clear James Thurston, who will look to the inside, side by side for second. Page in the lead to turn 1. And a solid jump by Page, gets out ahead. Thurston maintaining the fight for second on Wilkerson as Schaefer watches on, and he may peek through the middle to make it slightly 3 wide. We've been known to see Schaefer be very aggressive on these restarts. Nearly made contact with both of those cars on the inside and outside of the racetrack, but he'll keep it straight. And for right now, Page in control, but with Wilkerson looking underneath. Battle for the lead, and for the first time tonight, Jacob Wilkerson takes control from Kansas. And a great drive from Wilkerson. That is discipline at its all-time best. Just staying patient despite the aggression from everyone second on back. Schaefer wants to look at second place for Page. He'll get it. He'll look, and he makes contact, and he's spinning. There goes Schaefer and River Page up the racetrack, and we may end up with the yellow. There we do have it. River Page and Schaefer make contact as they were coming down the back straightaway. And that could have been much worse than it ended up being. But Schaefer, getting the worst end of it, goes for the spill down the apron. And our yellow flag raises once again just at the halfway mark. We'll try to get another look at it. And we've seen this move before a couple times. Most notably coming out of turn 2. You run that outside lane. You run the risk of getting into someone right on the outside of the racetrack. And here Schaefer decides, all right, going to go up the racetrack. Rest of the guys on the bottom stay down there. And Schaefer will get the move on Page. Wilkerson tries to send the block, sees the run from Schaefer, and it's just misaligned bumpers as Schaefer thought he had enough to clear Page down the inside and make an effort for the lead on Wilkerson underneath, but he did not clear Page, and he did not also get to the point where he can slide underneath Wilkerson without making contact. And with that slight narrow move, it's really hard to put yourself in that real estate when things get as tight as they are. So here's a secondary look at the incident. Schaefer running way up high. We've seen how much momentum you can gain off of this progressive banking to the back straightaway. And just about here, he thinks he can make the move on Wilkerson, makes initial contact with the 43, and that's what slows him down initially, and there is nowhere for River Page to go. A wonderful save, by the way, for Schaefer. Keeps it out of everyone's wrath and grasp, so he's been able to escape any extra contact or hits from anyone else on the track. But for Chase Schaefer, he will have to reset and try this one again, this time from probably the back of the field. He'll lift up the right side. Jackson, he'll get his car some fresh Goodyear Eagles with that spin. There were some other drivers that found themselves down there. Wilkerson, I believe, had also made a trip down pit road. And indeed he did. So there he is coming out of pit road now. There's Alexander Schumacher joining them on the pit lane as well. Gino Mero, who got the hard hit to the inside wall. He's still in this race. 7 laps down, though, back in P26. And then Daniel Mostello, we saw him go head on into the wall, now becoming the second DNF tonight from Kansas. So in the entire sequence of chaos, Lars Kennewick will take away the race lead as we step forward past halfway. And it's been a wild one. Several changes for the lead, but none have given up. You're watching coverage of race number 7 in the Season 7 IORA Cup Series live from the Kansas Speedway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
I'm back live from the virtual Kansas Speedway. 62 laps in the books and ready for our next restart after a crash involving Jacob Wilkerson, Chase Schaefer, and even a bit of River Page. Kenneth Brennan with you on the FTN Broadcasting Network as we step past halfway in this Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum 180 from America's Heartland. Kennewick has had experience at the front of this field before tonight. Can he lead them through again? Green flag raises from Kansas. Thurston to the inside through row number 2, and they will stay even as they come to turn 1 with River Page back in third. And what a drive from Thurston. We've seen him hang around the top 5 throughout this entire race, and for the first time, James Thurston, the Charlotte winner, will step up front momentarily. Kennewick will try to fight back hard through the outside lane, and he may just have the space and momentum to do it. He'll stick up high, and the battle for the lead continues back to turn 1. And Thurston's patience got him to the front at the end of that Charlotte race, and with the attempt at overtime falling in his favor, Thurston became the 6th different winner of Season 7 and trying to become one of those fortunate drivers to win more than one race. We haven't seen anyone do it yet. It's been a rather even IORA Cup Series campaign, and for Thurston, he'll hold back, so he stays through to second. Kennewick will take control of the lead, and they have quite a big gap to River Page from third. We haven't really seen that through most of this race. For a lot of times, you've seen that third place car, or even the fourth place car, even the fifth place car stay in the game with at least by 6 or half a tenth, or 6/10 of a second. But for right now, things have separated just a little more, and the contentious fights have calmed down quite a bit. A little bit of an update on those 2 cars involved in our most recent yellow flag. Chase Schaefer, who found himself on pit road, got some tires on the way there. He is 17th, moving up to the field slowly. Jacob Wilkerson, car number 43, is up to 13th on this restart, many seconds behind those at the front of the field. But he has done a good job of keeping his car clean since that incident, and off of this restart, no theatrics from anyone up front. Largest lead we've seen yet from the leader to second place, 4/10 of a second, and about 3 car lengths from Kennewick's Toyota Supra to the front end of James Thurston's Ford Mustang. Things are really starting to build up around the top 5 on back. That's where you find Tyrell Baker, who won in the lead earlier on tonight. Henry Kalhoff, who got a piece of contact from Schaefer's front bumper earlier in the opening run. And Sean Rowe, who bullies his way to the entry of turn 3. Didn't want anything with Baker to the inside. Shoves him up the banking, and they'll stay side by side for now. But the hard-fought fight continues through P6. Auction still up to turn 3. And for now, everything considerably okay. Sean Rowe falls back, and he'll stay back in 7th place. And there's Corbin Collins, car 71, that Mobile 1 Chevrolet looking to the inside. And there's Carlos Truther, Aladam Contreras, and even a bit of Jacob Wilkerson at the back end of this, that black and neon Toyota Supra, who's watching the battle with Schaefer and a couple of others in his rearview mirror. And a bit surprised we haven't seen, even through the long runs, this field stretch out as much as we'd expect. Usually with these cars, they happen to create the comers and goers effect. You usually see a lot of drivers fall back on strategy, or with the fact that they use up their Goodyear Eagles enough to where their car slows down, and usually the leader can extend their gap to at least a second or more, and that's what we're watching a little bit right now with Kennewick. He's extended the distance to Thurston, now about 6 or so car lengths back to the second place car, but here 5th on back, nothing has really changed. Everyone has been on top of each other, and it's that situation where you make one slight mistake and there will be another driver right on your coattail trying to make a move either to the inside or the outside. And here at Kansas, one of those mile-and-a-halfs that gives you the options of running any kind of lane. It gives you a lot of magical moments on the racetrack when we look at fights for position. And up the road from Baker, battle already building up for P4. Aiden Walker slipped up in the middle of the corner, allowing Kahoff to make the move on the outside, and the twisted Camaro under fire from another Chevrolet to the outside. And Walker will lose short. Henry Kahoff will take advantage, and he'll step into the top 5 for the first time, I believe, since that bit of contact with Schaefer as we step through to lap number 71. Just a little reminder that if you want to get in on all the action that's going around across the FTN sphere, you can join the Discord page to learn more about what you can do for race information and to get access to interviews and for even more in-house productions on the FTN side of things. So make sure to scan the QR code, get into the Discord chat, and have a bit of fun. Get all the latest news and up-to-date information on what's going on in the world of FTN broadcasting. IORA Cup Series, one of these mainstay series as of late on FTN, alongside the Highline Racing League. That coverage will come to you shortly from the SuperSpeedway. Don't know exactly which track it will be yet. That coverage comes your way later on tonight at about 9:30 p.m. Eastern as we try to wrap up this one from Kansas on the IORA Cup Series side. And of course, we will have coverage of the entirety of Season 7. Usually accustomed to hearing David Kreutz on the mic and producing for these shows, but I'm stepping in for this one tonight. David on a bit of a high school all-star game where he's out shooting some pictures, so best of luck to the main man at FTN in David Kreutz and how hard he works to make these shows go round and around. Let's look at the race leader, Lars Kennewick, who had opened up the gap to about 0.6 of a second to James Thurston. That since has gone away quite a bit. It's now cut in half. 0.3 separate Thurston and Kennewick in the battle for the lead. Henry Kahoff has stayed right on the tail of the second-place machine of Thurston, and we saw him make the move on Aiden Walker earlier and made the move on River Page while we were not looking at him. So Kahoff on the move early and already setting laps at least in the same ballpark or even a bit faster than those at the top two. So keep an eye on car number 63. May be able to make a move later on in this race and could have a shot at James Thurston. But you sort of ask yourself, if you're any one of these drivers in the top 3, or if you are anyone, in fact, that has already experienced a top-tier battle and a top-heavy fight in this event through the first half of it, are you even considering fighting for the lead? Because you think, I make a move to the inside or the outside, there will be a response somewhere from the driver that I end up sliding in front of. And we've seen just how much the battle for the lead has accordioned the rest of the top 5. It's got them at least within half a second, maybe less than that, and you get way more drivers involved in the show. All of a sudden, you could find yourself with a bit of chaos, or you make that one mistake, and again, everyone's on your tail waiting for you to slip up. So they'll make the opportunity at the inside or the outside, and they will go for position. Probably something that Thurston and Kahoff are keeping in mind as they're closing in on Kennewick's number 11 Toyota, but for right now, no clear moves, just still hanging in the background where they are. And Kennewick did attempt to pull away quite a bit. He was able to successfully do so. Now that Kahoff has picked up time on James Thurston, Kennewick is back up to a 4-car length lead here from Kansas. And seeing much less of the outside line used from the front. I think from what we saw in the battle for the lead, you don't want to be in dirty air from the cars in front of you, so your best bet is to go all the way up the racetrack and get a good run. But from first all the way through the top 10, mostly, apart from this battle for 7th between Tyrell Baker and Daytona winner Sean Rowe, we aren't really seeing the outside used as much. Things seem to be a little calmer on the 20 degrees side of things from the banking. And so we're seeing a bit more balance at the back end of this field. And there's Chase Schaefer, who slapped on some new Goodyear Eagles. He's on a tire set that's about 6 laps better than everyone around him, so no surprise he's getting through the pack and trying to slice as quickly as possible. Despite the mistake and the crash, Schaefer has moved up to 7th. He'll try to work up on this 3-wide nearly battle between Walker, Newbigging, and Kahoff for P4. And there's the onboard look from Kalhoff's number 63. We saw him slide up into third. I think may have just used up too much of his tires in the early portion of the run. There goes Schaefer on the outside. But even then, Kalhoff had fallen short from the likes of Walker and Newbigging when they started putting on the pressure. That's when Kalhoff sort of folded in his cards. And so Newbigging will take away the top 5. Aiden Walker will slide to the inside. And in their attempts to catch up to now the third place car of River Page. We noted the gains from the 99 of Schaefer. How about the gains from Wilkerson, car number 43? A bit less of a move up through the field as Schaefer has put up so far tonight. He's already moved up to 11th. And just inside of the top 10 here, just getting by Carlos Truther. And a bit of a tap from Aladam Contreras as they're coming out of turn number 4. Wilkerson will have a chance at moving through. And a bit of a gap up to Tyrell Baker. It ticked in by at least half a second, 0.6 or so. Not that much between those guys, but as they continue fighting, it'll give more of a chance for Schaefer and Wilkerson to cut through the field and continue making an imprint. There's Schaefer up high. He'll work on River Page next. And you got to think, what is going on with these old tire cars? They're going to have to play a little defense, or they may just have to let these guys go with 40 laps to go. We should expect at least one more pit stop before this race is over, maybe on tires. And if we get a caution flag, that could easily rip up the field and put themselves on an equal playing field. But for right now, the fight for the lead may indeed start catching back up again. James Thurston is putting himself in a place to get under Kennewick, and here he goes for the lead, turn 3. And Thurston not quite there yet, as Newbigging has slid up into third. And what a run by Douglas Newbigging, who oftentimes you see his name in the eNASCAR College iRacing series across the semester that just came by. It was a spring semester that came to a close as Newbigging slaps the outside wall, and he'll stay back in third. You usually see him on the sim in that kind of things. He's got a lot of speed behind his Chevrolet tonight. And despite being on the same level of tire set as basically everyone in front of him, you know, you'd think with the gains that Schaefer and Wilkerson have had through this front 10, you think that Newbigging's pace has been a product of taking fresh tires, but the answer really no. He pitted at the same lap that all these guys did in the top 3, 28 laps ago, but he's just done a better job at saving his stuff at the moment. There's Thurston to the inside, nearly looking back down on Kennewick for the race lead, but so far, no dice. And car number 96 will stay in line as 3 of these guys in the running for the lead, 2 of them looking for their first win this season, and only 1 trying to go 2 in a row. As there's a battle further back, that's River Page, Sean Rowe, Daytona winner, and Page the pole sitter tonight, 5-4 P5 out of turn 2. And now here comes Newbigging, big time momentum out of turn 2. He'll slide to the inside, may nearly get the race leader, and the slide job denied, and the 2 leaders are in the wall. Here comes 3 wide, into the wall goes Kennewick, then he goes for the spin. Trouble out of turn 4, Thurston, Page, and potentially others in it. Yellow flag out with under 40 laps remaining. And there was the fireworks out of turn 4, the damage dealt to the 7-11 throwback of Lars Kennewick, who had the lead in hand. Thurston looked behind him, and it was that initial move from the likes of Douglas Newbigging to send them up into the wall. Chase Schaefer and all that takes away the race lead, and let's figure out how this all unpacked. So take a look. Fight for the race lead is still kind of there. Thurston has gotten a little closer. Schaefer was back there hanging in 4th. And watch that black and yellow and red Chevy Camaro dive to the inside. It initially looks like a simple attempt at making the pass to the inside, but he slides up quickly, and even then, Kennewick up the road gets in the wall. So does Thurston. There's the contact from the front end of Thurston's machine, sends Kennewick for the spin, and even then, the collateral damage continues from there. That's where Newbigging gets the rest of the incident. That's where River Page gets turned around, and that's where things sort of get a little ugly at the front end of this field. So here's a better look at it from the likes of Douglas Newbigging at the front. He doesn't get a piece of it, but Thurston back there does. Got a touch from behind, and that's where everything comes to a close to bring out our most recent yellow flag of the night. Schaefer and a bunch of others taking advantage at the front of this field. How about the pit stop? Schaefer getting away first, 14 seconds. Newbigging back in second. Rowe, Page, and Walker, the current top 5. So with all that, Kennewick will have to spend time on pit road in probably the last situation he wanted to be in. There's his car trapped down there. Same for James Thurston back in 21st. He's put his Ford Mustang on pit road. And for the moment, it won't be enough damage to take them out of this race, but enough to kill all their track position. And we saw what happened with Daniel Mosteller when he had that one mistake, or the slight hit from Tyrell Baker earlier on in this event. And with the lost track position, he had to trudge his way through the midfield. And then it only takes one accident that happens in front of you or around your realm of proximity to where, if they make contact with you, there's nowhere to go. And for the likes of Mosteller, he went hard into the wall, and his race for now is over. So for a ton of those guys in the top 10 through point standings, that is the last thing you want to have happen to you, is be in a situation where this race goes awry as is, and then you end up taking yourself out of this race, or you just end up in that unlucky situation where you end up out for absolutely no reason, and then there is a really big problem on your hands. So we'll keep an eye on exactly what happens there, but for the moment, that's exactly how things look. And right before the restart, here's a look at the point standings going into tonight from the virtual Kansas Speedway. And again, Aiden Walker comes in as the points leader. We've seen him strong and consistent all race long, although he hasn't been in the spotlight yet. And then there may be a big-time hit for Daniel Mosteller, 63 points behind, tied with Sean Rowe for third in the point standings overall. Mosteller, who's won a race this season, could try and still lock his way in. Still lots of regular season to play, but it is a big-time shunt for Mosteller, who was one of the early DNFs this evening. Next restart, coming to 33 laps to go from Kansas, and it's a wonderful jump for those on the inside. Schaefer and Rowe bring them clear to turn 1, and we're nearly 3 wide. Now we're 3 wide to the first corner. And Schaefer has the lead by at least a car length. He'll look to the inside. There's Sean Rowe trying to play a bit of defense. He will for right now. And it's very good news for Sean Rowe and company right behind. We're going to try to get the picture for you live on the screen as we see it. But Sean Rowe takes away second. River Page dives it in a third. Henry Kauhoff will take fourth. Newbigging and Contreras in the battle for fifth. And so it's Schaefer, Rowe, and a bunch of other drivers up at the front. And we apologize for some of those technical difficulties trying to get the screen on back for you here on the FTN Broadcasting Network. It seems like when we do that, things really get out of whack, but it seems as though we have our picture back here on FTN. There is Schaefer still up front. River Page has taken away second, and Kauhoff Rowe will try and settle in for third, fourth, and then fifth place in Douglas Newbigging. So it's been really good stuff for all of them throughout the course of this race. And for right now, things seem to be in favor of car number 99. He'll hold on to the lead by a car length, and River Page has not given up tonight. Despite spinning in our last yellow flag effort, he did not pick up that much damage, and he was still in there through the top 5. So he will remain there. Sean Rowe nearly in the middle of 3 wide. Douglas Bigging will look to the inside. And how about for the first time since we had Jacob Wilkerson at the front, Wilkerson trying to take away third, and a power move to the outside. What a move by Wilkerson to take away third. And that will leave Newbigging stranded on the inside lane. As we'll dive into the final 28 laps of this race, Wilkerson nabs the apron. He'll be at the mercy of middle 3. Here comes Bigging. Newbigging to the inside, as a matter of fact. Kauhoff will look to the high side. And still top 5, separated by at least half a second. Contact to Kauhoff, and he tries to save it, and he does, out of turn 4. how about Jacob Wilkerson making the move? Kalhoff preventing him from getting there. And River Page will look up high as he remains about a car length back from Chase Schaefer. It's a really tough place to be if you're in the likes of River Page, and even a bit of Newbigging here because you are either playing offense or severe defense. Newbigging is loose in the middle of the corner. He'll stack up Kalhoff, and it brought back Schaefer to River Page's grass. Here comes the battle for the lead, settling to turn one. River Page trying to take the lead for the first time in a while. And he's got it. River Page, new race leader from Kansas. And you got to think the possible frustration for Page in his numerous tries at getting to the front. Lots of them have been denied, and I guess the same could go for Schaefer here in second. The way they've been able to weave up front, put themselves in these types of positions, and for many laps on end, running like it's the white flag lap, side by side, nearly 2 and 3 wide action. But for right now, things settle. The waves calm down. River Page, the new race leader. There is Kalhoff to the inside of Wilkerson. This is the battle for P4 on the racetrack. And Wilkerson tries to send it in on the inside of Newbigging, so he'll make it a door-to-door affair for P3. And we'll get down to the final 25 laps here from Kansas Speedway. Telemetry tells us if we do go green the rest of the way, it's only a mere 13 minutes until we end up at the checkered flag. So a pretty quick race tonight at about an hour and a half, probably. As there's Newbigging falling out in the fight for P3. Wilkerson will take control there. And Kalhoff will settle back. Tyrell Baker finds himself back into the top 6 after a bit of, swerving and diving through this field. It's taken him for quite of a ride. As we're all single file through the midst of this top 10, let's get a look further back at the top 16. Some drivers we haven't talked about for most of tonight. There's the 94 of Jason Semedo in a head-to-head fight with the number 1 car. That's Elijah Innes. And then behind them, Andres Varas. We see Alexander Schumacher, that K1 Racing, the upper Chevrolet Camaro in the background in white. And then right behind Schumacher is Hudson Sangster in the number 42. And so this really close fight goes from 15th all the way back. They have a bit of a gap to the next car in line, about 2.2 seconds to Matthew Rivera, who occupies position 14, sort of in his own league. And right in front of him is the former race leader of James Thurston. Since that spin, has yet to find breakthrough light. And Thurston right now in a tough spot. Still some ways to go in this event, but he will need a yellow to get back in this deal. As River Page maintains control by at least a car length, and he continues to lead. And it's been a fun one tonight from Kansas. Several chances at the lead for many different drivers. And despite River Page's consistency through 2025, has yet to win a race. Tonight could be the magic charm for car 24. Is the onboard look from Jacob Wilkerson sitting in third. And a familiar spot for him over the course of this race, given the context of the driver he's had to face with right in front of him for a car length. Chase Schaefer, him and Lars Kennewith, who seems to be at the back end of this field now with all of that damage he picked up from the crash. I mean, Wilkerson has been consistent, and he's been pretty strong. One of the faster cars here at Kansas. And again, the patience comes from within. The patience seems to be the differentiating factor for a lot of these guys. And we've seen them in different ebbs and flows throughout this race, whether it be using every single line available here at Kansas because they're running aggressively, or in the case of right now, playing around with where the grip is and just maintaining the bottom if all else fails. And even though River Page tried the outside a bit, he's going to maintain the lead on Schaefer. But everyone, for the most part, faithful to either running the middle or the very bottom, very differently to how this Kansas track used to race before the most recent update on iRacing to give it a fresh coat of paint, different look to make it look more realistic to how it appears in real-life NASCAR competition. And I believe it has changed just the overall dynamic of this track because we really haven't seen the middle lane be of use here at Kansas, or at a lot of the unique mile-and-a-half racetracks, we usually see the middle lane as that slickened off groove where even though you don't put a lot of energy in it over the course of a run, you can run the middle lane and there will not be their grip for you. So it's going to be really hard to find momentum off the corner. Tonight has been a little different. We've seen defensive stances from the middle lane, and for the likes of Wilkerson and Newbigging, they continue to have good speed, even though they're running that first end blackened seam on the bottom end of the racetrack, about a lane and a half up from that very inside white line. And this may be the best shot that Schaefer has in the lead in here. Out of turn 4, turn 2, wonderful look off of the corner. He'll try and beat River Page to the jump entering turn 3. Page gets a little eager. He'll catch the outside wall, and Chase Schaefer retains control, coming to 17 laps remaining. And now Wilkerson wants the lead. He'll look under. River Page will try and strike back and help Schaefer on the outside lane. But what a drive from Wilkerson. The patient eye will get him a spot in P2. And for Chase Schaefer, you have to wonder what happens next. If someone looks on the bottom or tries a slider on him, Wilkerson gets the wash up out of turn number 4. It allows River Page to get back in it. And look at the top 4. They have broken away by at least more than half a second. Back to Sean Rowe in 5th. You gotta watch for what moves are made here over this long run, and if the situation arises where there are no yellow flags, who will save their tires the best. We've seen it over the last couple runs several times. Jacob Wilkerson has been one of those better drivers, but I don't even know if we found a clear consensus guy that's been the long run behemoth at the front of this field, because every single time you think that there is a new challenger at the front or that there will be a convincing leader, every single lap, there seems to be a change of possession for each and every one of these guys, whether it be Page, Schaefer, Wilkerson, Kennewick, James Thurston, you name it. The list has grown to at least 5+ through the longer runs of tonight's event, and pit strategy hasn't mattered all that much. We noted how Schaefer and Wilkerson had been on the opposite end of strategy. They had 6-lap fresher tires than the rest of this field, but as of right now, that most recent yellow flag put everyone on pit road at the same time, and so with a little under 13 laps remaining, everyone is on the same stint at about 21 laps. You saw there on the left side of your screen, everyone last pitted basically the same lap. 86 was the marker for everyone's last pit stop. And as we roll through the final stint of this race, just starting to think less and less that there will be a threat of fuel conservation at any point in this event. You know, these guys with 80% fuel can go a little more than 50 or so laps, and you know, using that as a marker for 75% fuel, which happens to be the norm in a lot of league races and a lot of league series, you often see 75% of these mile-and-a-halves go as far as 45 to 50 laps on a tank of fuel. So if you punk it up to a little bit of 80%, you're going to have a very long green flag stretch, and so I think it was just one stop on fuel for everyone to make it all the way to the end once you get past lap number 60. And so for right now, no real pressure in the battle for fuel conservation, but in the battle for the lead, things seem to be as tight as they've been all night long. The great look from the rear end of the Monster Designs number 99 of Chase Schaefer, who's trying to catch his second race win of the season. Got the W in those final laps of the Tricky Triangle at Pocono Raceway, and could be on the mark to being the first driver this year to have more than one race win. It has been parity like no other throughout 2025, but still, Schaefer cannot back down, and he cannot lay off the gas pedal, because these rest 3, Page, Wilkerson, and Newbigging, are not going to let him get away with this without a fight. And now here comes Page. May give him the Krone horn off of turn number 2, and he may be there to turn 3. And look at the fight for third. Newbigging getting in the front of Jacob Wilkerson, and River Page dials up the outside. They nearly make contact off turn 4. And Schaefer will have to fight once more with all that he's got. Inside, 10 laps to go. Chase Schaefer under heavy fire from the pole sitter. And what a drive it's been from these two all night long. And will there be any save from Jacob Wilkerson, who just retained third? River Page takes command, and with less than 10 to go, he's got the lead, but for how long? He slaps the outside wall, giving Schaefer the run, and Schaefer back in control. And make that nearly 3 car lengths back to Page entering turn 1. And that slight mistake may have killed Page's momentum. He will have to try and spend the next several laps regaining whatever he lost, while Schaefer tries to maintain the clean air up front. Newbegin getting caught by Daytona winner Sean Rowe, and the fight for 4th may start to build up soon. Jacob Wilkerson in the eye down for 2nd place. Page will work up high, and that's the gap back to Chase Schaefer. It is starting to grow. 0.2 of a second still, and Schaefer in command. 8 laps to go. And what a race it's been for Chase Schaefer, having to move his way through the field in stunning fashion, not being afraid to be the aggressor, to be the hunter early on in the first stint. It cost him a bit as he got sideways out of turn number 4, and then went for the spill from turn 2. But Schaefer, who got the lead, now caution flag waves with 8 laps to go at the line, and it's Corbin Collins. No damage on his Chevrolet, but the spin will bring everyone behind the iRacing official pace car. And just when you think this one is over, it is not. Try and get a look at the replay and see exactly what happened to Collins' number 71. And so it was the fight with Kauhoff on the inside lane. Not sure if he got a piece of him. Yeah, he did. Coming out of turn 4, washed up a bit. Car slid, and he nearly had it saved, but then slid it down. Flat-spotted tires, probably the worst end of the things for Corbin Collins, who at one point was running inside the top 10. But things do not end up working for him. We'll take another look at the replay and see how this all transpired. So, inside look on Kauhoff, inside the top 10. That's Aladam Contreras, Alexander Balderas in the background. You see that minimal contact as the right front wears down, and I think Kauhoff got a little bit loose there out of turn 2, so it put him further down the racetrack than I think Collins thought he would be, and so at that point, yellow flag waves with 5 laps to go. Field has come out of pit road, I believe. Oh no, they're going to stay out. So Chase Schaefer will elect to stay out, and for those who have come down pit road, it seems to be plentiful. At the back end of it, it looks like Jacob Wilkerson, River Page, and a bunch of the others stayed out, but a lot of the guys at the back have decided to come in. There is Xander McKinney, Devins Baker, who spent a lap up front on the older set of Goodyear Eagles earlier in this race. And the list goes from River Page on back. So yeah, River Page Wilkerson did in fact come down pit road, so they did not decide to stay out, while Schaefer has elected to gamble on 29-lap old tires within 5 laps to go. I think Schaefer may be thinking to himself, he is done if he does not come down pit road, but he will stay out for another time as Page, Wilkerson, and the rest of this field come by, and they will have the freshest set of Goodyear Eagles inside a restart with 5 laps to go. Remember, last week at Charlotte, we had a restart inside 2 laps remaining, and it came down to an overtime attempt to get James Thurston the win. And once more, we will find ourselves nearly in a green-white checkered scenario, but we will have an organic restart inside 4 laps to go, with Chase Schaefer the race leader, Jacob Wilkerson on the outside of row 1 on fresh tires, River Page back in 3rd, Douglas Newbegin 4th, and Sean Rowe, the top 5. Only 2 of those drivers, by the way, have won races this season. Schaefer, the race leader, and then Sean Rowe, who won the season opener at Daytona. Nobody else in this top 5 have found their way to the win this year. So a chance at a 7th different race winner in 2025. And could it come from Kansas, or is there some sort of magic for anyone else outside of the top 5? And if there's enough for Schaefer to hold on, can he do so inside 4 to go? Pace car will make its way to the entrance of pit road for what may be the final time tonight. And with 4 laps to go from Kansas Speedway, Wilkerson tries to jump the restart, but it will not work. Schaefer brings him to turn 1. And how much lack of pace will there be for Schaefer? Thurston is sideways. He'll try and back up the rest of the field, and now they're hitting up to the outside wall. Balderas goes for the spin. He'll catch Semino and others with him, and the yellow flag flies, and for the second week in a row, we are headed to overtime. And they had backed up right around where James Thurston was. I think they all sort of checked up as they were trying to get around Schaefer's old tire car. And that does not work at all. So we get another look at how this all transpired as they were coming down to the restart. Absolute pandemonium when they took the green flag. They were already 3 wide. That was Alexander Schumacher making a move up high, Contreras in the middle, Balderas on the bottom. And it's the 39 car of Truther who sends a slight block to Thurston, back them all up on the inside lane, and Thurston goes up the track into Contreras, and despite them not really getting the worst of things, Corbin Collins and the rest of them found big-time trouble. Balderas ended up with a huge hit as he was coming down the raceway. We're getting another look at how that all transpired between those guys, but from Balderas' perspective, things got really ugly really quickly, and he was in the middle of this incident. Let's get a look with Balderas as he was catching up to the incident out of turn 2. Already their car's getting beaten up. And then he gets a hard hit to the outside wall, and as he slams the 94, he'll get Corbin Collins at the bare end of that. And so it's our longest crash of the night here from the virtual Kansas Speedway, and that will get us inside a restart with about 3 or less laps to go. And the light's still on the iRacing official pace car, so we will indeed go to our first attempt at overtime here from Kansas. So overtime has been a familiar sight here in this IORA Cup Series this year. We saw overtime last week at Charlotte. We saw James Thurston be able to walk away with the win. Aiden Walker got the Atlanta win through overtime, and so in both intermediate races this season, we have seen the race extend past the scheduled distance of 180 miles with Chase Schaefer up at the front. I'd say that's good news for Schaefer here on the oldest set of Goodyear Eagles, because the last thing you would want to see happen is that race go green all the way till the end. He was nearly getting beat when they were coming through turns 1 and 2, but now that the yellow flag is out, there is a chance for him to equalize a little more with those guys on the back end of things with fresh tires behind him second on back. It won't be that much more of an equalization between those guys, but if there continues to be yellow flag and yellow flag down the lane with 1 or 2 lap restarts, Schaefer could outlast the rest of the field on the long run. And best case scenario, if he doesn't have to run as many laps as he would like to on the old set of tires, if we end up with a final overtime attempt that is negated by a yellow flag. So here's how overtime works. We will go restart with 2 laps to go. Everyone doubled up, usually like they do on the other restarts. We'll take the green. If the leader catches the white flag before the caution flag is displayed, then we will run this race all the way until the end. If we end up with a caution flag before the leader catches the white flag, we will double them up and try it all over again. We have 3 available attempts at overtime to finish this race, and like I said, if we are on the 3rd and final attempt of overtime and the caution flag flies before the white flag is displayed on the speedway, whoever is the leader at the timing of that final caution will be considered the winner tonight. Weight on the shoulders of Chase Schaefer on the oldest set of Goodyear Eagles in our first attempt at overtime. Let's get it going from Kansas, and a wonderful restart for Schaefer as Wilkerson and Page fight for the 2nd spot into turn 1. And this is the opportunity that Schaefer has at controlling this pace. But now River Page will take the momentum to the inside. A deer block to the inside on Wilkerson will be denied. And here comes Wilkerson to the bottom. Schaefer into the outside wall. Carlos Truther will make his way to third place, and off of the final corner, River Page will see the white flag from Kansas. And in a race where we have almost seen it all, from different race leaders to constant slide jobs to constant fights for the lead, it's one chance for River Page to send this one home after starting on the pole. Wilkerson falls back to second. He does not have a response, and off the final corner, River Page, for the first time this season, is a race winner, this time from Kansas Speedway. And what a drive by Page, who led this one from the jump. And in those final 2 laps, makes the moment count. River Page, the 7th different winner of the Season 7 IORA Cup Series. And from our 3rd mile-and-a-half race of the year, River Page gets it done, and he will burn it down from the virtual Kansas Speedway. A wonderful drive from Page, held off Wilkerson in those final laps. And as they got around Chase Schaefer on the old tires, Page makes the most of the moment. And Wilkerson could not find the momentum in enough time through that final lap to make an effort on Page. And the 24 car will visit victory lane for the first time this year in a fantastic circumstance. What a drive from Page as he will execute the Polish victory lap and will take the checkered here in America's Heartland after outlasting the field on one attempt at overtime. Let's get a moment to dial up the unofficial results here from America's Heartland and Kansas Speedway. After all of those laps, it was River Page getting the race win by 0.2 of a second. Jacob Wilkerson, who had a strong race car all night long, will have to deal with the runner-up spot in those final laps. Sean Rowe moved up nicely in those final 2. The Daytona winner grabs a 3rd place finish tonight. Carlos Truther in car number 39 recovers from late top 10 running over the course of the evening to a 4th place finish. Douglas Newbigging had put himself in the cards late in this race, and he ends up with a top 5 finish. Aiden Walker back in 6th as the points leader going into tonight's race will most likely keep that points lead for right now. Hudson Sangster in the number 42 will be in P7. James Thurston had a back and forth race. He ends up in 8th. Henry Koloff in the 63 will line it up in 9th, and the old tire call for Chase Schaefer sort of works out for him. A decent finish, but probably not what he anticipated. He ends up inside the top 10. Aladam Contreras will finish in P11. Will Shack in the 31 car will end up in 12th from 19th. 7th place starter for Tyrell Baker. He ends up 13th at the checkered flag, with Corbin Collins grabbing 14th place. Danner McKinney didn't see his name for much of the night, but he ends up in top 15 territory. Devins Baker started 21st, and he ends up +5 to the checkered flag at 16th. Elijah Innes in 17th. Andres Vadas in 18th. Michael Deitch in the 17 car from 19th, and Wayne A. Kennedy rounds out tonight's top 20. There is the rest of the field as you see it on your screen. Alexander Schumacher, 18th on the starting grid, 21st to end this race. Alexander Balderas in 22nd after the crash late on the going. Jason Semedo in the 94 ends up 23rd. Then Matthew Rivera, Lars Kennewick, Gino Mero, Daniel Mosteller, and Braxton Whitaker round out the 28th car field. Big hits for Gino Mero, Lars Kennewick, and Daniel Mosteller, especially Mosteller going into this race in the top 5 for the point standings. He will now have to crawl himself out of a pretty big hole as we get down to Talladega Superspeedway next week. So let's get a moment to chat with the race winner tonight, and that is River Page in car number 24. River ends up as the 7th different winner in this 7th season of the IORA Cup Series. First of all, River, thank you for joining us. Welcome to victory lane from Kansas. How does it feel? Because it was a crazy run to the finish. You had been strong all night long. What did you see there in those final 2 laps?
Oh my gosh, it feels good. I was really good in this track. I won twice. You know, this is like half my league wins here were at this track, and then I just started stinking it up. And so I'm just so glad that I can finally say that I'm a winner at Kansas again. And I don't know. That was just such a interesting race. I didn't really think, based on how the car was driving, I thought it would go how it went last season, which was just me just absolutely killing my stuff every run. And thankfully that didn't happen. I kind of wish we had a little bit of a longer green flag run at the beginning of the race, because that's when I felt like I was strongest. But got back up, or I was never really down. I just kind of hung around. The cautions kind of kept me in like the top 3, top 4, and then me and Chase had that little incident. He tried to cut down, just an aggressive move, but it didn't really affect me, and it took he took an extra tire set away. So I knew that if we can get that caution right there where we did it like 10 laps ago, that he was gonna have to pit, and he wouldn't be able to fix. So you have no tires left. So I just knew that if I was second to him, I'd basically have it in the bag. I had the little incident on the first restart, which was my fault, and I apologize for it. But we're just racing for the win, and so got second. I restarted third again, and that time I didn't think I was going to clear Jacob, honestly. I thought he was going to be able to hold with me, but I got through 1 and 2 way better than I thought, and I held Wilkerson off just enough. He kind of missed the bottom in 3 and 4, I guess, or got loose or something, and so that was basically it. But it feels good. That was really fun, and I'm finally back at this track, so I'm really happy about that.
It didn't seem like there was a dull moment in this race, and for you, obviously the experience behind the wheel must have been a bit stressful at times. You, Wilkerson, Schaefer, Kennewick, didn't matter who it was out there with you on the racetrack. You guys were within a car length or less on the track for most of the long runs, and you guys didn't really get away from each other. How mentally stressful was it to stay on your 10 toes the entire race and to put yourself even in a position to be at the end up front with an overtime finish?
Yeah, it was definitely stressful because it's just balancing tire saving and track position, which I knew after the one run where I started to I came to the front right at the end. I knew that I could maybe save for a little bit, but you said there's just not a dull moment. There's always someone around me. Except for that one little run where Kennewick got kind of stretched out, but then we got back to racing. So that was really fun. There was just battling all over the track, basically the whole race, and it's just, it's really hard on the mind with this type of combo, just trying to keep the car under you and try and keep everyone around you safe and keep your own race safe. And yeah, I feel like I managed it well. I didn't put myself in trouble. I had a few incidents actually. I was involved in 2 of those cautions in the middle of the race, but I didn't get damaged from either one. So just trying to keep the track position and the tires safe. It was definitely one of the most difficult races that I've had in this league. But like I said, it was really fun, just all the battling we had.
Kind of a race of high risk, high reward here from Kansas, which is probably one of the tracks that you'd least expect that at with the long runs that we had tonight. River, you came into tonight top 5 in the point standings. You're still in that search for the IORA Cup Series title, and it's a relatively short season, so in the blink of an eye, we're already nearing these final few of the regular campaign. How important is a win like this at this time of the season, not only being your first of the year, but coming at a time where this could give you a ton of momentum as you guys come to the playoffs?
Yeah, it definitely is a momentum shift. I've had my early season runs in this league the last 2 years, like this season and last season, I've been kind of a struggle. I took pride in being really consistent in this league before then. And that's when I won the championship. It was just because I felt like I was super consistent and I stayed out of trouble. And I haven't been able to do that recently. So if I can just keep runs like this going and we get into the playoffs, it's really important for me that I know I can win. I have the speed to win, and so I just need to keep this type of run up. And last year I felt like I was kind of robbed with what happened at Darlington for anyone that was watching that race. And I know if I can just be consistent, I can put good runs together every week. So just need to keep out of trouble. And so that's what I did here. I just need to keep doing this, and, starting it and winning once is definitely just going to help me have a better mindset for the rest of the season.
Well, you conjure up some magic here in these final 2 in overtime, and you get the win here from Kansas Speedway. Before we let you bounce and continue the celebrations from the win, River, anybody in particular that made this run possible and anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Haggard Electrical on the car and Flopper Racing and Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports. And You did a great job. I had the stream on for a little bit. You did a really good job. And everyone else, I know we had a couple more cautions than I think we'd like to have, but it was still really good racing up front all up until there was just that one incident at the end. So just the drivers did a good job. And thanks to Mason as usual. And you again, that was really just a great race all around.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, River, and on behalf of all of us here at FTN, congratulations on the win here from Kansas Speedway. I know you get a little bit chance to celebrate, but also to rest. I think that one was really wild at many times throughout 122 laps. Congrats on the win, River. We'll see you guys at Talladega next week.
Thanks, boss.
River Page, the race winner here from Kansas. Unfortunately, we do not have Jacob Wilkerson nor Sean Rowe in the voice chat, so we will not be able to toss down to them and get their opinions on how it was to run and finish in second and third. Very consistent runs for either of them, and as we looked in the point standings, there will be a big jump for River Page. Sean Rowe will take up a really good finish tonight after running a bulk of this event in the top 10. He ends up with the top 3. Jacob Wilkerson, who wasn't in that top 12 going into tonight's race, could easily gain some momentum. And through these final several races of the regular season, that's where it is going to be very, very important. And here's a look at the schedule that will take us all the way to the playoffs and the opener of them at the virtual Darlington Raceway in a couple of weeks' time. Talladega will be our next race and our second super speedway event of this young Season 7 campaign. We'll roll on to the Brooklyn Irish Hills of Michigan, then Homestead, Miami, and South Florida before we decide those 12 that will make it to the IORA Cup Series playoffs. And then we'll kick it off at Darlington, try to go through the Glen, Chicagoland, Iowa before we close out the season with a champion here in Season 7 at the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But just like River said, this one was a huge boost of momentum and in a career in IORA Cup Series where this part of the season may not be the outstanding highlight for him. Tonight, it is a breakthrough win, and still, we haven't had a repeat race winner this season. Everyone who's won in 2025 have all been different drivers, so there still is a chance for that streak to continue and maybe get a magic 8 at Talladega, considering how wild and brash that racetrack can be. You'll just have to find out. Next week, that'll be the coverage on April 17th, right around this time at around 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll find the coverage live on FTN. So that does it for our coverage of the IORA Cup Series from the virtual Kansas Speedway. On behalf of David Kreutz and everyone that makes it possible here at FTN for all of these broadcasts, much thanks and appreciation to them. For everyone at the IORA Cup Series, all the race admins and the league owners for making this event possible and this series as exciting as it was tonight from Kansas. And on behalf of everyone at FTN and for myself, Kenneth Bueno, we say good nights from the virtual Las Vegas, the Kansas Speedway, and a congratulations to River Page on his first win of the 2025 season.